Welcome, everybody. We're ready to get started for our Librarians in Action. What's the Big AI-dea? This will be recorded, so if you have to leave early, that's just fine. We'll get the link out, shared. Take it away.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
I was just if you wanted to introduce yourself first, I was gonna let
Sure.
you continue on.
Oh, absolutely. So, if you don't know, I'm Dan Alexander. I am the continuing education consultant. This is my main thing at Neckles. And that is not an AI picture of myself. That was me posing for a picture for my graphic novel where I played the bad guy. So I get to be my model in my own graphic novel. Go ahead, Robin.
This is an AI picture of me, as a matter of fact. I had AI headshots done. So I'm Robin Hastings. I'm the library services consultant for Northeast Kansas Library System. So we are going to be your guides through this. What we're going to talk about generally is what how AI works, what's behind the hood, under the hood, some tools that make life easier, what AI can do for you, and why AI might not be the best solution for that problem. So the first thing you think of when you hear AI, go ahead and in chat type in the first word that comes to mind when you think of AI. Kind of get an idea of where everybody's head is right now. And we're going to talk about, even if you're not a fan of AI, which a lot of people aren't, you're going to get some interaction with AI, whether you explicitly use it or not. I was on Facebook a little while ago and saw a story from I saw a library, I'm not sure exactly where, but they said that somebody came in waving a printed off email and mad because they got an email that said that their books were overdue and they weren't. And the librarian took the email and was reading through it and noticed that the summary of the email above said your books are overdue, but when you read the actual email, it was you have 3 days and then your books will be overdue. The AI summary got it wrong. And so, no fault of the librarian. Uh, they just had to kind of explain to the user why. Um, why things happen the way they do and why the AI is not always uh, going to be 100% correct. So you actually have to read the actual email. So
So
I'm
we did
seeing
get
a lot.
a lot of
Yeah.
chat GPT.
hmm Some concerns. I definitely see that. Uh, yeah. The AI hallucinations and heavy energy usage, there are big issues there too. So, yeah, this is a great kind of get us started on um, what we're going to talk about. So, before I even talk about what AI is and how to use it and all that good stuff, I want to talk about why it matters to us as librarians. And there are some high stakes with our use of AI in libraries. The first thing is patron privacy it's a core value for librarians, and we don't know necessarily how Gen AI, these generative AI services, use or store our data that we are uploading to them while we're doing our work and making use of them. So we need to be thinking really clearly about how things are used so that we're not endangering patron privacy by our use of AI. We also, and a lot of people don't realize this, but as you are prompting AI, asking, talking to that chat bot, asking for information and doing things like that, that is considered an open record in a lot of places. Washington State has AI prompts already included in their open records regulations. So that chat prompt is like an email that you're sending from your work email. It is available to be requested as part of an open records request. So you need to keep an eye on that as well, and make sure that what you're entering into those prompts is acceptable for use. So policy, I think, is critical for safe use. And if anyone has worked with me in the past 13 or so years, I have been here at Nichols. One of the first things I always ask is, "What's your policy about that?" When I get questions. Um, this is no different. I think to use AI effectively, we're going to need to have some guidelines for how we use it. And I'm not just saying that because there is an ALA special report coming out very soon that I wrote on policy around AI, but it is an important topic. And as came up in the chat, some of these issues around the environmental footprint, copyright, how it uses our information, unauthorized use of data. These are things that are kind of going through the courts right now, and we're not sure exactly how they're going to shake out, right? So all of these things are important to librarians. Most of us have, that's one of those things that we are it's important to us as professionals to do the patron privacy and to make sure that our patrons' privacy is protected and to protect copyright and intellectual freedom and those kind of things. So that is one of the reasons why AI is important. We also need to be aware of when AI makes stuff up. So you may have probably heard, because it was a big story for a little while, uh, ChatGPT use for creating legal briefs. Several lawyers have used it to write legal briefs, and they don't necessarily understand the difference between what is real and what isn't. And so they will cite court cases that do not exist. This news article that I've got a picture of here, actually that Martinez versus Delta Airlines doesn't exist. It's not a actual court case. And the lawyer that cited it, I think, got a $5,000 fine. So the Free Law Project um, posted that and said, "This is why you need to double check your work," which um, we'll talk a little bit about. That's a librarian superpower, right? So the other thing is, oh, that's messy. It didn't go away. Um, there was an article earlier in late spring, I guess, the Chicago um, newspaper. They posted a summer reading list for 2025. 10 of the books on that reading list don't exist. The authors do, but they did not write the books that are on this list. And nobody double checked. It got into print and was a in the newspaper before anybody realized that 10 of the books that were listed don't don't exist anywhere and were completely hallucinated. So we're going to be talking about those issues, but they are things that, like I said earlier, the librarians are wheelhouse is evaluating information, right? And this is going to require us to do a lot of that. So this is why it's important. It's why for us as a profession, we as a profession need to be paying attention, how it works, um, what it is at essence is a tool that mimics human intelligence. And that's AI in general. There are a lot of definitions, but that's a kind of a basic one. You have used AI, even if you have never logged into ChatGPT or created an image with Midjourney or whatever. If you have watched a movie on Netflix because it was a recommendation, or bought a book on Amazon because it was recommended to you, you've used a version of artificial intelligence. These self-driving cars, maybe not so common here, but they're starting to show up on the coasts. Those are make heavy use of artificial intelligence. And quite frankly, the Camry that we have here at Nichols, when I'm have the cruise control on the highway, if a car in front of me slows down, so does the Camry without me doing anything. It's making the determination that I'm getting too close and it slows down, it makes the decision for me. You can feel about that how you want, but it is, even if your car is not fully autonomously self-driving, there are elements in these things that are artificial intelligence. So what I'm going to be talking about and what Dan is going to be talking about today is generative AI. That's artificial intelligence that is creative. It creates new content. So that can be text, it can be images, songs, sounds, videos, computer code, all kinds of stuff. So today we're going to focus on this kind of newish version of AI. It kind of popped out in late 2022. Actually, I think in November of 2022 was when ChatGPT was released. So we're exactly 3 years in, and has exploded across the internet since then. I know I have been reading about the uptake of ChatGPT, and it's faster than any other. I mean, faster than Facebook was adopted, faster than anything that has come before. So it's definitely out there, and it's something that um, you will run into.
I was just going to
AI.
add,
Oh,
Robin, when we started
hmm
talking about AI about 2+ years ago, I used to like note when I would see stories in my news feed about AI and just how that would just be ridiculous at this point because it's like every other story.
They're all AI stories. You're right. It's absolutely true. So this image here was created with an AI tool, and I would not have done it quite the same way because it's hard to tell. There's between 1964 and 2004, nothing really big was released. It's not that nothing was happening, but it doesn't show that. So AI put together what I wanted, but not exactly in the way I would have done it had I done it myself. So just another hint there. But the AI timeline starts off in 1952 at a conference. The concept of artificial intelligence was named. And so from 1952 on to, like we said, November of 2022, it has grown and new functionality has been added and new things have been released that kind of pushes it forward little by little. So up until like November 2022, and then it seems like since then every half hour, right? So things change very, very quickly. Some of the things that you're going to run into when you talk about generative AI, Dan and I have talked about this many times. I am a text-based person. I do not do a lot with images. So I was looking at this and I was like, well, the Dolly there in the middle, that is an image creator, one of the first image creators, if I'm not mistaken. It's the only image creator I added. Everything else is textual. So Copilot is the Microsoft AI. The little knot is ChatGPT. They also own Dolly, which is the image generator. Claude is a chat bot, and then Gemini is that little. If you use a lot of Google, you've seen that little diamond all over your Google Mail and Docs and things. That is your Google version of AI. So those are what you're looking at as kind of out there. But it's creating this, it generates the text, images, audio, video, code, whatever it is you're asking for here. This is what's coming on, and it essentially it responds to prompts with original content. So you put in a prompt, and it responds to you with stuff that is original, basically. So it thinks thinks and responds and in ways that even the creators aren't really exactly sure how it works, but that's, kind of the overview. However, I do have an image here. Um, this is an image asked for by a chat prompt, And they came up with this, nice little flow chart and everything. But you'll notice that where all the little red arrows are, it is not very good at the writing part. So ChatGPT, the generative AI in general, um, can do a really great job of one or the other, but a lot of times with these image generators, they don't always do a great job with the text, and text generators sometimes are not so great with the images. So they have their specialties, um, and so that's something to keep an eye out, because if you just kind of glance at this, it looks fine until you start looking at the text, and then it doesn't. So the way this all is happening is, in essence, um, there's large language models, and you've probably heard that term thrown around. It's essentially a monster collection of data. The program, the large language model program, ingests a massive amount of data, text, various, if it's a image generator, then that's art and pictures, whatever it is, it pulls these massive amounts of information, and based on what it sees in that massive amount of information, it predicts the next word or the pixel, if you're looking at images based on that data. So unlike your phone um, autocorrect, it's not looking at the last word necessarily. It's looking at the last paragraph or the last whole. It keeps the context in its memory and uses that whole context. And that's how it's able to come up with text that is seemingly semantically knowledgeable, even though it doesn't understand semantics. It's not actually how that happens. You can choose how creative you want your output to be, whether you want something that's maybe a little corporate and formal. You would have a very low temperature. You would set, ask for a low temperature output. Or if you want something that's crazy creative, you can go with a higher temperature, but you're likely to get some errors, and I've seen text that comes out that's just gibberish mixed with symbols. It's so creative, it no longer makes sense. So what it's doing here is just looking for what is most plausible based on your temperature that you've set, um, as the next word or pixel based on this incredibly large set of data. And so that's the large language model, but there's also visual AI. Dan,
Right.
take it away.
And I get a slide. So visual AI extends that same predictive power that the text was doing. But rather than predicting the next word, what it's doing is usually predicting the next pixel or series of pixels. Um, let somebody in here.
Oh, I'll take that. I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
appreciate it. So it works very similar. It's trained on lots and lots of data. If it's Adobe with their model, Firefly, then all of the training on visual data that the model has gone through is owned by Adobe. That's what makes it kind of stand out. They have their own pictures that they had the copyright to, but all the other models out there that create visual AI, uh, they pretty much just pilfered everything that was out there online. And because all of the pictures available online often have aesthetics. If you're training a model off of everything was catalog pictures, then that is why the output is often kind of otherworldly. There's never a dirty dish in the sink because all the pictures that it was trained on, the dishes were already done. Um, so we talked about how it works with predicting pixels, and that these models, just like ChatGPT, were trained on basically every published word. These are trained on pretty much every public image, or as we're starting to see a lot more, video or movies. One of the first big problems with visual AI, I would say, would be deepfakes and misinformation. You might have seen last Friday that Fox News posted a video. It was a TikTok. It wasn't really a TikTok, but it looked like a TikTok. It was very believable. And it was about a woman who said that she gets about $2,000 in food stamps every month and that she's able to sell those food stamps for about $1,500. And she says in the video, that's just the way it is. That's how we get by. There was no woman who does that. And Fox News was using it as an example of what's wrong with the benefits system. So it's very difficult to tell what's real with this Sora 2. That Sora is the Open AI's new video model. This version 2 just came out recently. That's why you're seeing it a lot more in the news. You might have also seen that the Martin Luther King Jr. family reached out to OpenAI and basically told them, stop making it so that you can post videos of Martin Luther King Jr. saying things that he never did. And we're going to continue to see that. But it was because of the Sora 2 model that just came out that we're starting to see this a lot more. So under the deepfakes and misinformation, the last word I'll have is maybe video was never the same as truth. But I think from a lot of our perspective, if we saw a video of something, we usually would have assumed that that was proof enough because a video existed, and that's no longer the case. So, under ethical implications and consumer risk, AI can reproduce someone's likeness without their permission. We're also seeing this with Sora 2, raising privacy and consent issues. There's been lots of reports already of scams that use this AI generated faces or voices. You might remember there was a lot of robocalls that came out. I believe it was Joe Biden's voice saying stuff about how you should vote in the next election. So libraries and educators need to be aware of these risks because misinformation will affect all the communities we serve. If it hasn't already, it will more and more. And then there's the problem, as I kind of mentioned at the top of this section, of just the representation and biases. If most of the imagery that a model was trained on includes biased information, like say CEOs are usually white men, then unless it's programmed differently, it's going to continue to just spill out that same bias. And then I like to think a lot about what is the future of our relationship with art. AI challenges traditional ideas of what creativity and authorship are. And so the question is, if AI generates a painting from a prompt, who owns it? Who is the artist? Is it the prompt creator? As of right now, you cannot copyright AI AI art, if you will. You have to change it enough by human hand before you're able to copyright it. But that's always in flux. These laws haven't met up with our current reality. And I think this then sparks a greater conversation about what is the value of art, of originality, and human creativity in the digital age. It's a little scary.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Somebody, and it's off my Brianna, posted a link to a bill in Denmark that would give people the copyright to their own face so that you can fight deep fakes, which is fascinating and is definitely one of the things that as we're looking at libraries policies and the way we handle things, these legal legal guidelines and bills and regulations and such that are coming along are also going to be things we need to definitely take into account while we're working on libraries. So anything anything so far? Test for visual AI has always been the Will Smith eating spaghetti videos. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of options for how to figure out whether or not something is AI or not. I was telling Dan earlier, I just saw a video of baby toddling along the beach, just past the surf line, and a shark coming up and getting ready to jump out of the water to attack it, and the baby's heroic dog fights the shark
Yeah,
off. And I was like, they're not even trying to make them look
yeah.
realistic anymore. All right, well, then we
But
can.
I would have a
Oh,
question for the group
hmm
is, even if they feel like they can tell AI from reality, how confident are people right now that their community as a whole, in general, can tell the difference? I would say, looking at that TikTok video that Fox News posted, um, it did not scream, "This is AI" to me, as much as some of the older content. It is getting, I see the word savvy. Um, I think AI is getting much better, and it's becoming more and more difficult to tell the difference.
But I see Max's point because you can, like that baby with the shark video, there are uh, obvious fakes out there, and we know that it's possible. So, but I think you're oh, people are chatting, so I'm losing. People are more confident than they should be, I think is absolutely correct. I think we all think we can not be scammed, and we can all be scammed, right? So I think that is correct. And the writing aspect has gotten much worse, which I think that's again, it's that huge amount of data. If your writing is based on what we see on the internet, it is going to get worse. You're right, because the writing on the internet is not necessarily the best writing. Um, Phishing attempts are much harder to attempt to spot. I saw a statistic the other day that, phishing attempts, it used to be pretty obvious. People couldn't spell and there'd be all kinds of issues, and they're getting through. These AI created phishing attempts are coming through, and getting clicks in ways that have not happened before. So, corporations pushing AI into apps it's not ready for has made people more skeptical. I hope so. Yeah. And uh, yeah, there's the LLM is neural network based on how the brain nodes work. That's what it's modeled after. And then ever use the summarized YouTube video on YouTube. It's wildly inaccurate and crazy. Yes, sometimes I'm not sure exactly where it comes up with what it gets, but we're going to talk about hallucinations before too long. First, though, we're going to talk a little bit now that we've discussed thoroughly how uh, AI can make our lives as librarians harder. We are going to talk about some tools that can make life a little easier. And I'm going to mention agentic AI. I just told Dan before we started that they're finding that current agents are able to do maybe 2 to 3% of the tasks that they try to get them to do. So um, that is absolutely not ready for prime time yet. It's still very experimental. Uh, and I'm not using it yet, but the next slide, I do have a little example of how I have used it in the past for a very low stakes itinerary request, rather than me having to do all the searching. But basically, what the ChatGPT agent does, and there are several agents out there, um, it uses a virtual computer to browse the web, open the applications, do the work. It requires some input from the user. I'm not giving it my credit card number so that it can put it in there wherever it wants. That's not something I'm going to trust for a very long time, if ever. So it can't do things like that without user input, but it can look at your calendar and figure out when you're flying and go look for um, flights and help you book them again with help from that credit card and logins and things like that. Um, Or it can log into your calendar and consider what you need in order to prepare for upcoming meetings. It can kind of give you an idea of what's coming up and give you some preparations. There are other uh, things as well. What I wanted to show you here, I was planning a weekend trip to Nashville, Tennessee with my parents. They're older, late 70s. And so I asked for an itinerary that gives us lots of sitting down and accessible options with nap times built in. And so the prompt that I used was I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee from August 15th to the 17th. We are driving from Jefferson City on the 15th and back on the 17th. We'll be staying at an Airbnb, and I gave the address so it would know what was close. Friday and Saturday nights, checking out on Sunday. We will be attending the 3 p.m. showing of the Dolly Parton biographical musical, the whole reason we went to Nashville that weekend, but otherwise have no plans. My parents' 56th wedding anniversary is the 17th. This is my gift to them. What other things can we do with older folks who need lots of naps but still want to see the sights while they're in Nashville? And oops, there we go. And so this is what the ChatGPT agent did. It opened a browser and started telling me what it's doing. It's opening results to confirm the schedule. It's checking the Opry 100 show details to see if maybe we could go to that on the 15th. We couldn't. Um, it's looking for different things that I can do in Nashville. It leaned really hard into the accessibility thing. So it looked for a lot of accessibility uh, related options for the different things. And I just got a 30-second clip of that. And so, oop, there we go. Um, and so it's something that was interesting to do once, but it's just not quite ready to for prime time. And I'm seeing some chatting going on with folks that are using ChatGPT and have issues. And yeah, it's can be wildly inaccurate. I see, and or highly inaccurate, sorry. And sometimes, yeah, uh, Brianna says that just having a conversation with Copilot can be difficult at times. I've got a Android phone, so I have Gemini on my phone, and every now and then I'll try to have a conversation with it. And it's just stupid. It's not very smart. And I feel like sometimes you're coding by voice. You're having to say things exactly correctly. And I have to think about what I want to say before I start talking to it. And so, yeah, this is all, the ideas are there,
Yeah.
but they're not
I
ready
would just
for
I
prime
would
time
just make a
necessarily.
point though. Um, Maybe my expectations are low, but I've noticed that I having the Chat GPT app on my phone, as opposed to like a year ago, I will more likely find a reason that I want to go to that rather than a search. Like perhaps I don't know enough about what I'm trying to find. Um, and here I can use ChatGPT to kind of fill in some of the gaps that I would have before I would be able to make a Google search. So
Mhm.
I don't I don't know if that's just me, but I'm seeing in chat a lot more people saying, "Oh, it's garbage. It doesn't work well." But my personal experience is that I'm using it. So that just another side of the coin.
No, and that's the last time I gave this talk to a bunch of folks in Florida. At the end, I was like, "Wow, I was really a lot more negative than I intended to be," and I'm doing it again. I want to be real clear that it's dangerous, and you have to keep an eye on it, but it's also really useful. I think we used the itinerary that the ChatGPT agent came up pretty extensively. We did a lot of the things that it mentioned. And somebody, again, my chat, Jess, said, in your experience, would you say it's wrong, or is it trawling for keywords and delivering bad results because the source itself is incorrect? One of the things that I really want to emphasize, and I think it's important for librarians to emphasize this as well, is these are not search engines. They are not searching the web for answers necessarily. In the last year or so, they have incorporated more web searches, but it's what it's doing is it's looking for what is most likely to be the next word based on the past um, data that it has ingested. So um, it's wrong. It's just I'm going to go with it's wrong because for the most part, it's not searching the internet and looking for the answers because quite often they would be more correct, probably if they did that a little bit more. But yeah, Brianna says it's AI always wants to give you an answer. If it doesn't have an answer, it's going to make something up, and that's been a thing. So yeah, I don't mean to be as negative, I think, as I'm coming across, but it is a useful tool. And one of the things that, getting back to my slide here, uh, one of the things that I find super useful is the um, RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. And what that is giving um, using your own sources and doing the searching for that. So Notebook LM is um, a Google product that lets you upload sources. So when I was writing this special report on AI policy, I uploaded everything to a Google Notebook LM, and I had all my policies, the documents, the PDFs of articles that I read, all the stuff that I used. I uploaded it. And then if I had a question as I'm writing about what a certain policy might, what policies might include this subject, it's real easy to go to that notebook and find it. And the the chat box in Notebook LM only uses the sources you've given it. So it does much less hallucinating than your average web-based chatbot. Um, so it increases the amount of trust that you can give it. Still, I would just double check sometimes, but you can trust that the information is probably correct. And it's better than just control Fing through a bunch of documents because it does use that fuzzy search. So it's not looking for just the word, like Dan said. Instead of looking for exactly what it is you asked, it's looking for things that are maybe related and might have some relevance in ways that maybe it might not even occur to you to ask. Um, and then the Notebook LM, like I said, you can throw multiple documents up there and search through the entire thing. If you've got data with your library that you are not comfortable uploading, because we are very concerned about patron privacy, there is an application. It's free to download. It's called LM Studio. And it is just at lmstudio.ai is the website that I got it from. And you download it, and then you can download one of these free large language models to install in it, and it becomes ChatGPT on your computer. You can point it to a folder and use that folder as your source of information. So that is one thing that I think might be useful for libraries because your data never leaves your network, never leaves your computer if you're doing it on a desktop on your desk. It's a tool that I think would be really, really useful for libraries is this LM Studio. And so um, I just wanted to make sure and talk about it for a moment so that you can kind of see what kinds of things we can do that keep patron privacy in mind while still making use of this useful technology. So what can AI do for you using some of these tools? We've talked about Chat GPT and the generative AI chatbots. We've talked about um, the image generators, some of them. We've talked about all these different things. So what exactly can you do in your library to make it work for you? So I have used it to summarize documents, and I think it was mentioned in the chat that it's not always right, so you wanna be careful about that. But it can be useful for individual documents. You can use it to help draft emails or newsletter content, generate frequently asked questions from reports. You can use it to help come up with program ideas. I know some solo librarians in very small libraries who use it to kind of use it as a brainstorming tool. It's when you don't have somebody in the you don't have any other staff to bounce ideas off of, it can be very useful there. It can help you create metadata for library materials in the catalog. We just got a book in our professional collection about that. So if you're curious, you can check that out. And then again, producing images for programs or your website or whatever, using those image generators that Dan has suggested. And one of the things that we've done here at Neckles, the other Robin and I took the yearly report, our Nichols year end report that we produce, uploaded it to ChatGPT and asked it for a mini campaign of Facebook posts on how Nichols helps member libraries. We tweaked, we edited what it came up with, but we used the general idea to get a week worth of posts that target how our regional system helps our members. And it did not require a whole lot of fuss. We got stuff done pretty quickly. So that is always a one way that you can use all of these things. And I find a lot of times, and Dan kind of hit this a little bit earlier, the the use case is the hardest thing to come up with. And once you start using it, you'll start thinking of other ways you can use it. And like he said, you just use it more and more because the hardest part is coming up with, well, what should I do? So some of the things that Gen AI does brilliantly that you can start off with is quickly drafting content. And I'm going to talk at the very end about the human AI, human workflow that I prefer, but it does help a lot with drafting and helping edit and change content as necessary, summarizing long documents, brainstorming ideas, like I mentioned, editing and revising existing text. I did a lot of that with my AI policy um, report that I've mentioned a couple of times now. Every chapter I posted to um, ChatGPT and I said, give me some ideas for revisions and tell me what questions non-technical folks may have. And by the time I finished, my editor was like, I don't have any questions because ChatGPT had come up with most of them. It does a great job of translation, transcription. If you've got audio, it usually can transcribe that audio pretty clearly. Personalized recommendations. Once it gets to know you, it can start recommending things that are um, relevant to your interests, put it that way. That smart search that Dan and I were talking about earlier, where it knows it acts like a reference librarian in trying to kind of figure out what exactly it is you want, whether it's what you said or not. Sentiment analysis. If you all use SurveyMonkey, that's a big thing right now. Um, you can use AI to determine the sentiment of your text responses to surveys, which is not something that was capable a few years ago. Now it's something that's built into SurveyMonkey. And then this has nothing to do with libraries, but I find it fascinating. Medical imaging analysis. Apparently, it does a really great job of finding issues in medical images that humans don't necessarily. It does not, however, uh, deal with the human telling people about what they found. So that's still we still need to work on that. But these are just a few of the things that Gen AI can do that you can start off with. So we're gonna I know there has been a bunch of
As
stuff
um,
coming through.
Brianna mentioned talking about using it as feedback, and you kind of mentioned about being the one person librarian. And I would just say, for me, I find that that's how I tend to use text tools is as a collaborator. I don't usually ask ChatGPT to create me like an initial draft. I usually draft out something and then I send it over to ChatGPT. And that's really similar to how I used to ask for a lot of response from my colleagues here, especially something was going to go out. But now I find it um, more likely to just start with that as a collaboration tool. So, any other things in chat that you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm reading through one of the things that Max mentioned that I think is absolutely right is AI is getting being used to describe too many things. It is a buzzword and it's getting slapped on stuff that is not really necessarily AI. So that is absolutely true. That's part of the problem with our conversation is because I'm telling you, I use ChatGPT almost every day. I do all kinds of stuff today. I uploaded our Flipster statistical uh, worksheet, the Excel worksheet, and got back the statistics for October's use of Flipster and Nichols in 45 seconds. So I use it every day. I think it's a fabulous tool for use. I did have to switch it got the access and download numbers wrong. I had to switch them. But other than that, it's it's a great tool and it does a lot of good stuff, but it's something you just kind of have to keep an eye on. There are a number of excellent suggestions, ways to use it. I love the check how long a presentation will take from Brianna. I think that's a great use that I have not made use of, and so I think it's a great um, it's a great thing. So the new model worse than the old model. Max is probably talking about ChatGPT 5. When it came out, OpenAI, the owners of ChatGPT, said that you can't use the older models anymore, and a lot of people complained because they liked 4 better than they like 5. Um, I don't know that I have noticed a huge difference the way I use it, but I don't use it to create a lot of gen, original text. I tend to use it for text I've written to edit and do things like that. And so if that may be my why it's not been something I've noticed, but man, other people have. I hear
Yeah,
all kinds of
especially
um,
about the personality.
hmm
Um, it, I think they tried to make it more clinical. Maybe that's not the best word to
but
use. Maybe
yeah.
more professional, rather than. And I feel like that's what a lot of the initial complaints were. Were the previous models? People had built up this thread and kind of molded this reaction partner, and then here comes the new model, and it doesn't work the same way. And then Max might have totally other things that he's seen. Um, we might
Um,
want to review that hallucination. Yeah.
yeah, that is coming actually.
Oh, good.
I do mention it in a slide in a minute or two, and I've kind of in touched on it a little bit, but not. I will do more.
So stay
Um,
tuned.
and there's also a way to restrict the information it looks at to make the results more accurate. That is probably the network or the notebook LM.
Hmm.
That is a Google product. If you have Gmail, you can make access or have access to it. So you can look for it there, or that LM Studio, which is at lmstudio.ai. Either way will allow you to um, limit the responses to only the sources you give it. And so that's probably what's going on.
There
So,
was a comment earlier too, and just about getting better results.
mm,
Somebody way up in chat, which it's been awesome, people have been using it, mentioned, I think they said they went to the doctor's office and they asked it to cite sources. And I just wanted to make a pitch, and if we don't talk about it later, to go with Russell's statement, there are tools you can do that are constantly evolving in your prompts. Part of being a prompt engineer is trying to eliminate some of that bad information or trying to limit it so it's the information as you like it. And so there's so many different strategies we used to talk about, but now also as the models change, those strategies change as well. So, but there are
Mhm.
things like citing your sources, or I want you to use thought of a chain of reasoning as you do this, or as you go through each step of this. I want you to do I think the one thing I saw was like red team, blue team. So I want you to also consider everything that blue team just said, which is your initial response. How would your adversary pick it apart? And then you can get some stronger results. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure. And I actually have at the end of, you can do custom instructions for ChatGPT. And one of my custom things is that every prompt, no matter what I do, it gives me an uncertainty map and it points out the things it's not sure of. And that is really helpful when you're trying to do things like, figure out what's going on. It's not necessarily, I mean, asking it to cite its sources and doing all that is a great thing too, but I just ask it for what are you not 100% sure about? Tell me what it is you're kind of guessing, and that exposes a lot right there. So there's a question, a way to calculate the power energy cost of various AI tools. More than likely, there's a generator out there that will do that for you. One of the things, kind of a rule of thumb I have heard is to the longer the model takes to respond, the more energy it's taking, which is kind of an obvious thing, but there are ways to craft questions that are less, that take less time, and those are almost always going to be less energy intensive. Um, so it's a good question. I'm not familiar with any tools that calculate energy generation, but I bet you they're out there. I just haven't run across them yet. So,
Well, I know just for my comment I put in chat, and granted, I don't have sources on here, but I know Sam Altman from OpenAI claimed like in the last 3 or 4 months, each
mhm,
prompt is only really taking a few drops of water, basically the equivalent. So not a whole lot, but really it's training that model of ChatGPT 5 that was the giant drain. And so the only thing I would say is even if you do something on your local machine, you're not creating that LLM on your own. When you
mhm,
do something on your own machine or on your own servers, you basically have to go to an open source LLM or something that's available.
mhm.
So it's not really the drain on your local machine of you using the prompts. You have to realize that the damage has already been done with that particular model. So you're not getting off clean getaway just because you're doing it at home. I just wanted to point that out.
This is true. This is true. Um, and
I
do
love that
let's see.
question or that
Yeah.
statement from
Recommend saying
Matt.
please or thank you to the robots. Yes, I do, because when they are our robot overlords, they're going to remember that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Well,
So,
if it's Open Information Act,
right.
then maybe people would want to see, how kind you are to your AI assistant. So I think
Exactly.
it's a good point.
Exactly.
There was a story just recently about if you're mean to your AI, you might get better results.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, so yeah, those are great
Down
questions.
to the
And
final 7 minutes, just so
we
as a
are,
reminder.
we are.
Yeah,
So I need to hurry up.
yeah. I
Um,
need to stop
so
interjecting.
that's okay. We talked about hallucinations. I told you they were coming. Here they are. Uh, where AI falls short is that it hallucinates. Or way 50 minutes ago or so, I talked about the Chicago Sun-Times article with the 10 books that didn't exist. That's an hallucination. The legal case that was completely made up, that is a hallucination. There is no connection to reality. These people don't, I mean, these people, sorry, it's an easy thing to do. These programs have no understanding of the context of what you're asking for. All they understand is that in the terabytes of information that they have ingested, those words go with these words more often than not. So we're going to uh, it's going to respond based on that. It doesn't understand that it's not being truthful. It doesn't have a semantic understanding of what you're doing. All it's doing is probabilities. And that is why it will hallucinate things, because it's where it's just it thinks that's what you want to hear. A lot of times that's exactly what it is it's coming up with things that you probably want to hear, may or may not be true. And it's, again, I'm going to pound this one in for one more time. It's not a search engine. There are search engines that are Gen AI enhanced, like Perplexity, but ChatGPT, these other things are not search engines. So it doesn't understand the context of what you're asking, and it doesn't have that kind of background that even a basic search engine seems to, understand that what's going on there. Um, Dan mentioned the bias that can come in through the data. If the data that the LLM or the image creator ingests is bad, it's going to come out with bad data. And we've seen that happen a few times. And then there are legal and ethical risks, just basically the copyright issues, some of the things that are, like I said, going through the legal system right now. When you, I had to put this one in here because, policy. When you are thinking about AI in your library, you need to think about ways how you want it to be used, whether what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. You can do a vetting process. There's a library in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that has a full vetting process. There's a form and a committee that looks through and decides whether or not the AI is acceptable to use in their library, and then lists them. You can do a more open process, but with guardrails. You need to consider your privacy and intellectual property compliance and how there are a lot of libraries that just won't use image generators because of the copyright issues. You should always train your staff on these risks and the best practices. And don't just stick, when you're thinking policy, don't just stick with your technical stuff. Collection development is AI adjacent as well, because there's a lot of crap in Amazon right now that was written by AI bots and not humans. And it's really easy to accidentally order those. And then what do you do? Having a collection development policy there is helpful. What's coming next? Who knows? These are some ideas that I have. I think the legal cases are going to eventually work their way through. We'll have answers. I think, like I mentioned earlier, the regulations and ethical standards law, and someone posted the law in Denmark. I think those are coming. I think that we need to stick with what is trusted and understand as we innovate that we have a balance there that we need to keep. And I think that it is going to be everywhere. And it's not going to be an issue of access like the internet is in our libraries as much. It's going to be how can you use it safely, ethically, and responsibly as a staff member and as patrons. So, key takeaways. AI is powerful, not perfect, but it's got some amazing capabilities. You need to keep privacy and ethics in mind when you're using it. Policies are important. That human AI, human workflow that I mentioned, where you start creating, AI helps perfect and then you tweak, is preferred for now. It makes things a little easier. And guidelines, if you're thinking about creating policies, you may want to reconsider and do guidelines instead, because the tech keeps changing every half hour at this point, and policies are kind of written in stone. So
Yeah,
that's it. Ah, lots of great questions. Thank you so much for
yeah.
all the chat and the feedback. I don't know if we have um this is interesting. Jess says the kid yesterday started every conversation with her with question, and she's wondering if that's actually a linguistic shift due to the AI tools, that's how you start your conversations with your AI chatbot. So,
Interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
it'll be really wild to see how people
Mm-hmm.
kind of start adapting. And I've
Yeah.
already heard, people talking more like AI and just
Mm-hmm.
the M dashes becoming really popular even when AI doesn't add them.
My writing, I use M dashes in writing a lot. And so I'm like, that's a definite sign of AI use. I'm like, no, you can go back 10, 15
I've done it
years.
for years.
Stuff I've written. Yeah, really. It's
I've
so,
knew.
so
All right. Well,
thank you
people said
all.
it was useful. That's good to hear. Thanks, everybody, for being here, for tuning in. Hopefully, some of you will be at KLA conference. Hope to run into you. Feel free to say hi. Um, but yeah,
I'm
everybody
I'm
be
getting on the
safe.
road myself here in the next hour. So if you see us in Manhattan, please stop us and ask questions, give comments, tell us where we went wrong. Whatever works. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.
Mhm.
Bye.